My mom cursed my name on her podcast for years until I leaked the clip of her saying, "It's all for views. I love you so much." Her downfall was epic. The first time I heard her call me a waste of space on her podcast, I thought it was a joke. A bit. Maybe some twisted attempt at sarcasm for shock value. She always knew how to stir drama for numbers. But it wasn't just once. It was every episode, every week, for almost 2 years straight. My name wasn't just mentioned, it was dragged, dissected, and demolished for an audience of people who didn't even know me. And they loved it. They laughed when she called me pathetic. They clapped back in comments when she called me lazy, a freeloader, someone who lived off her success like a barnacle stuck to her boat. People stopped asking how I was. Some started asking if I was really as terrible as she said. A friend from college messaged me once, cautiously asking, "Are you okay, man? I saw your mom's new episode." He didn't know what to believe. No one did. Not even my aunt, her own sister, who used to babysit me when I was 5, believed me when I tried to explain how the woman behind the mic wasn't the one I saw in our kitchen every night. Off camera, my mother had this other face. A softer one, fake as the makeup she wore to set. She'd smile after recording, toss her notes on the couch, and ask if I wanted dinner. And every time she did that, it left me feeling disoriented, like I was talking to someone with 2 heads. One head devoured me publicly, the other offered me pasta and told me she was proud. That contrast messed with me. Deep down, I wanted to believe the affectionate version was the real one. But I couldn't forget the titles she gave me to strangers. Human deadweight, the son I never should have had, a permanent reminder of my bad decisions. It hit a point where even stepping outside felt like a risk. Someone always recognized the name. And when your name is being attached to failure in every possible form, the world closes in fast. Job applications? Ghosted. Old friends? Faded. Dating? Don't even try when the first thing people find about you is a YouTube clip titled, "My child is the reason I cry at night." And all of it was fake. She didn't cry at night. She laughed. I remember the moment I caught her clearly. It was a Thursday night. She had just finished an episode called "Raising a Mistake," where she spent 40 minutes calling me a leech who never learned to clean, cook, or contribute. But when she came into the kitchen, she was smiling, loose, humming some pop tune under her breath. Then she poured herself a glass of water, sat at the counter, and just casually let it out. "It's all for views," she said, chuckling. "They eat that stuff up. But you know I love you so much, right?" I didn't respond. I just stared at her. Something inside me clicked that night. I didn't feel rage. I didn't even feel betrayed. I felt cold, distant, like I was watching a stranger wear my mother's skin. So I slid my phone out, hit record, and let it capture the rest. The tone in her voice wasn't emotional. It wasn't guilty. It was smug. She sounded proud of it. I kept that clip hidden for months, buried in a folder called Receipts on my phone, backed up twice just in case. I didn't know when or how I'd use it, only that one day it would come in handy. And that day came faster than I expected. A legal envelope showed up at my door, delivered by hand. Inside, a lawsuit. My mother was suing me. Claims of emotional distress, brand damage, and reputational harm. According to her, I had talked back in front of guests once, and it made her lose a deal. That was her case. That was the moment I stopped waiting. I uploaded the clip. No edits. No fancy captions. Just the raw truth. Her voice. Her laughter. Her confession. It's all for views. But you know I love you so much, right? I didn't even have to add context. The internet did the rest. Her fans, the loyal ones who used to quote her insults like gospel, turned fast. Comments filled with betrayal. Memes mocking her. Reaction videos with headlines like "The mask slips and we were played." Sponsors began issuing quiet statements, distancing themselves. Some pulled their logos from her banners overnight. A platform even demonetized her past content. Within 72 hours, she went from a media darling to a walking cautionary tale. I didn't expect the clip to blow up that fast. 1 minute, it was sitting quietly on my account, no hashtags, no tags, just a basic post. By morning, it had been reposted by accounts I'd never even heard of. Commentary channels started dissecting every word. Manipulative tactics, one called it. Performance parenting, said another. But what struck hardest were the faces of people realizing the woman they followed wasn't real. Her voice, once so powerful, sounded hollow under the weight of her own words. That single sentence she tossed out so casually, "It's all for views," cracked everything she built. The podcast didn't upload that week. No statement. No apology. Just silence. People began noticing. Fans filled the comment sections of her older episodes, asking what happened. Speculation spread, but no one defended her the way they used to. Those who once praised her honesty now called her manipulative. Some apologized to me in direct messages, people I'd never met but who had believed every insult she threw. They said they felt guilty, said they should have seen through it. I didn't reply. I read them, but I never wrote back. 2 days after the clip went viral, her sponsor deals vanished. Quiet removals at first, like banners disappearing from her podcast homepage. Then the public statements started. A skincare brand said they were reevaluating partnerships. A tech company released a vague but pointed message about upholding integrity. She had spent years carefully curating this image of herself as a strong, unfiltered mother, someone who just told it like it is. But all anyone could hear now was that soft laugh at the end of the recording. That tiny, smug chuckle unraveled her image better than any exposé could. She called me that night. Not a message. A full call. I let it ring 4 times before I answered. Her voice was tight, like someone forcing calm through clenched teeth. "You really think this helps you?" she said without greeting. "You think destroying everything I worked for is going to fix how people see you?" I didn't say anything. She kept going. "I was building something. We had an audience. People listened to us because we were honest." "No," I said finally. "People listened to you. I was the scapegoat. The entertainment. You just needed someone to tear apart." She didn't respond for a moment. Then she tried to flip it. "You know I never meant it. You know that." I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just said, "I know what you said when you thought no one else would hear it." That's all anyone needed to know. She hung up without another word. I expected anger, maybe even retaliation. Instead, I got silence again, the kind that made you wonder what storm was building underneath. She didn't post for a week. Then 2. Her channel sat untouched. Her followers, confused and disappointed, began to leave. Some made farewell videos. Others deleted their fan pages entirely. All that momentum gone. But then came the twist. I received a formal notice from her lawyer. A second lawsuit. This time, it wasn't about emotional damage. It was unauthorized recording, defamation through out-of-context publishing, and intentional interference with business relations. She was trying to claw something back. Maybe she thought going legal again would scare me quiet. It didn't. I forwarded it to a lawyer I'd been talking to since the clip first went public. Not because I planned this, but because I knew her. I knew how she operated. And more than that, I knew she wouldn't go down quietly. People like her never do. My lawyer read the documents, then looked at me across his desk. "She's panicking," he said flatly. "She's trying to regain control. But it's sloppy. The recording wasn't illegal. You live in a one-party consent state. You didn't edit the audio. She said exactly what she said, and you didn't manipulate it." He leaned back. "You have 2 choices. Settle quietly, or counter." I chose the second option. Not because I wanted revenge. I wasn't trying to ruin her. She had done that herself. But I wanted her to feel what I had felt for years. Powerless. Voiceless. I filed a counterclaim for defamation, using her own podcast as evidence. Episodes she thought were long forgotten now became exhibits. My lawyer listed timestamps, titles, even direct quotes. Things she had said about me that damaged my chances at jobs, relationships, and a normal life. Every time she called me a parasite or an anchor I had to drag through life, it went into the file. Her lawyer tried to stall, tried to settle out of court. We refused. They pushed for mediation. We ignored it. She had thrown me into the public fire for years without a second thought. She could stand in the heat for a little longer. Then came the deposition. I sat across from her in a neutral room. No mics, No cameras. Just legal reps, documents, and her looking like a stranger in a suit that didn't fit quite right. She didn't meet my eyes. Her answers were short, clipped. I don't recall. That wasn't the context. I said those things as part of a performance. My lawyer leaned in. So the things you said weren't true? They were exaggerated, she said. For what purpose? She hesitated. To create engagement. To get views. Another pause. Yes. That admission was all we needed. After that, everything accelerated. Media outlets picked up the case. Headlines spread. Not just about the podcast, but about how far people will go to build a brand, even if it means destroying the people closest to them. She stopped posting altogether. Social media wiped clean. No videos. No tweets. Nothing but silence again. People kept messaging me. Some shared their own stories, parents who humiliated them online, turned their private lives into content. Others asked how I stayed quiet for so long. The truth? I didn't have a choice. When someone with an audience controls the narrative, your voice disappears. No matter how loud you scream, no one hears it over the applause she trained them to give. The court date was set. A real one this time. No more letters. No more threats. Just a scheduled trial. She didn't speak to me again. Not directly. Her lawyer sent another offer, a last-minute settlement with an NDA attached. I declined. I wasn't after money. I didn't want to pay out to stay quiet. I wanted it said aloud in court that the version of me she built was false. I wanted to bury that character she created and leave it there. In the weeks leading up to the trial, people speculated. Some said she might disappear entirely. Others thought she'd spin the narrative, turn herself into the victim of a cancel culture story. But she did neither. She stayed out of sight. And when the day came, she showed up dressed for sympathy, black dress, no makeup, quiet demeanor. It was an act, but no one clapped this time. Inside the courtroom, the judge asked for opening statements. Her lawyer said she was a performer, that the podcast was fiction adjacent, like a show, that listeners should have known it was exaggerated, that she was a mother doing her best to connect with her audience, even if it meant blurring lines. My lawyer responded with clips, transcripts, direct evidence of damage, jobs I didn't get, emails from companies citing concerns about public reputation, friends who testified about how their parents warned them not to associate with me. Her defense unraveled fast. Every claim they made fell apart under the weight of her own words. At one point, the judge asked directly, "Do you deny calling your son a failure on a public platform?" She tried to say it was metaphorical. The judge raised an eyebrow and said it didn't sound metaphorical. She lost the case. The ruling didn't bankrupt her, but it broke the illusion. The court declared that her content was not protected as satire. It had real-world consequences. And the damages I was awarded weren't just financial. The court ordered a public retraction to be posted on every platform she used. A video with no edits, no spin, no denial. Just an acknowledgement that what she said was false. She posted it. Eyes flat. Voice monotone. No tears. No excuses. Just a plain, awkward apology. Most people didn't even watch the full video. They didn't care anymore. She had already become irrelevant. Her podcast never resumed. Sponsors didn't return. Fan accounts shut down or pivoted to other influencers. She became a cautionary tale in media circles, a lesson in how exploiting your own family for content can turn on you faster than you think. And me? I got a job offer 3 weeks after the verdict. The hiring manager said he saw the clip, not the one she posted, but the original one. The one where she laughed, thinking no one else would hear. He said it showed strength. That staying silent, waiting, then responding with truth took more courage than yelling ever could. 6 months after the trial ended, no one mentioned her name anymore. She vanished from headlines, not because the world forgave her, but because they stopped caring. In the online space she used to dominate, she was now just a ghost. Her podcast page remained frozen at the last episode, the one where she called me a permanent stain. A forgotten archive of a brand that burned out the moment the truth surfaced. I never went back to our old house. I didn't collect anything. No boxes, no mementos. I left everything behind. The court settlement included a clause that allowed me to sell my share of the property. I signed the papers, wired my lawyer, and walked away from the past like stepping out of a room that had no more oxygen. I didn't need furniture or photo albums. I didn't need closure in the form of old items. Everything I needed had already happened. The job I accepted had nothing to do with media. It wasn't glamorous or creative. It was a tech support position for a growing software company. I picked it because it was quiet, stable, and far removed from the noise I'd lived in. My boss never asked me about my mother. My coworkers didn't treat me like a walking headline. They just saw me as a guy who showed up on time, finished work early, and didn't talk much. I liked it that way. Occasionally, someone would recognize me. In grocery stores, at the DMV, once at a coffee shop when my name was called out with my order. Most didn't say anything. A few did. A woman once approached me outside a bookstore and said, "What you did, that took guts." I nodded and thanked her, but didn't stay to chat. Not because I was ungrateful, but because I didn't need to keep reliving it. The story had played out. The ending had arrived. There was nothing left to add. As for her, the last I heard, she tried to rebrand. New social handle, different name, stripped down profile photo with some big caption about starting fresh. But people weren't buying it. The trust had broken. Once an audience sees through the act, it's hard to rebuild that kind of loyalty. A few loyal followers lingered in her corner, still convinced she was misunderstood. But they were few and scattered, and none of them had the influence to restart her empire. She wasn't banned. She wasn't silenced. She just wasn't important anymore. That was the real consequence. Family never reached out. Not the ones who believed her, not the ones who stayed silent. I wasn't bitter. I just accepted it. People made their choices. When she controlled the narrative, they clapped for her. When the truth came out, they disappeared. I didn't expect apologies. I didn't want reconciliation. I just wanted peace. And that's exactly what I had. Every few weeks, I'd get the urge to look her up. Not out of curiosity. Not because I missed her. Just to see if the silence was still holding. It always was. No new uploads. No new interviews. Just a frozen profile picture and a stream of outdated posts slowly collecting dust. It didn't satisfy me. It didn't hurt either. It just reminded me that stories do end. Even the loud ones. Therapy helped, not in some dramatic healing arc, but in a practical way. I sat across from someone who didn't try to label her or fix me. We didn't dive into childhood. We didn't relive episodes. We focused on the now. How to navigate a quiet life after living in the eye of a digital storm. I told him once, it's weird not having to defend myself anymore. He nodded and said, that's what normal feels like. It stuck with me. I didn't forgive her. Not because I couldn't, but because forgiveness wasn't needed. I didn't carry her words with me anymore. I didn't hear her voice when I opened my eyes in the morning. I didn't flinch when I saw microphones or camera lights. That part of my life had been processed, resolved, and shelved. No anger left. No sadness. Just space where all the noise used to be. One day, I did receive a letter. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting immediately. It wasn't a long message. Just 2 lines. If I could do it over again, I wouldn't. I hope you're free now. No signature. No apology. No details. Just that. I read it twice. Folded it back into the envelope. Slid it into a drawer I never opened again. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. Whatever guilt she felt, if any, had arrived too late and in too small a package to matter. She said she hoped I was free. And for once, she was right. Freedom didn't feel like a celebration. It wasn't triumphant. It felt like waking up and not dreading the day. It felt like going to the store and not worrying about cameras or whispers. It felt like standing in a room and knowing no one saw me as anything other than myself. Eventually, the internet moved on. New scandals. New influencers. New outrage cycles. I wasn't part of the noise anymore. I was just a person again. No longer her headline. No longer her content. Just me.